Hi, my name's Heather Kristoff and I'll be your TA for this year in anatomy. A little bit about myself. I'm a sophomore in the DMS program, so I'll be able to help you along the way and show you my tips and tricks on how I passed anatomy all 3 terms with an A. So here we have the scapula. This is the posterior side, which you learned in medical terminology means the back side. So starting up top, we have the acromial process. Now how I remember the acromial process is a pirate has a crow sitting on his shoulder. So this is the part that sticks out by your shoulder. So acromial process. Then below we have the glenoid fossa, also known as the glenoid cavity. Fossa means a shallow depression. So on your model you will see the bone divots in. Below the glenoid fossa is the lateral angle. And you can see it's in the shape of an L, so it's a 90-degree corner. And below that you have the axillary border, or the lateral border. So this is the part in your armpit, because you learned in medical terminology, axillary means armpit. Over on this side, you have the medial border, also known as the vertebral border. And again, you learned that medial means towards the midline, so it is in the middle of your back. Above you have your scapular spine, which is this whole highlighted area, and that is the part that actually raises out, and that's also known as your shoulder blade. Above is the supraspinous fossa, which again, supra means above, so this is above your infraspinous fossa, which is below the scapular spine. So this is the portion of the scapula that faces towards your lungs. So we call that the costal surface. The body of the scapula is this entire highlighted portion. And it is very, very flat. So if you look on your model, you'll know that this is the costal surface rather than the posterior surface, which has more ridges. Up here we have the superior angle, which you will remember because superior means above. So the superior angle is above all others. So that is how I remember superior angle. Below you have inferior angle, so below. Above you, again, you have the lateral angle, which looks like a little L, a 90-degree corner. And above that you have the coracoid process. Don't get this confused with your coronoid process. That will come later on a different bone. How I remember the coracoid process is it is thicker than the acromial process, which is right behind it. So there are 2 portions that stick out. The coracoid process, which is thicker, and the acromial process, which is thinner. Then up here you have your suprascapular notch, and it's a little divot, and that's where veins and arteries run through. This is the side view of your scapula where your humerus will attach to. So again, up here we have the acromial process, which is thinner than the coracoid process. And below we have the coracoid process, which is thicker. Then below the acromial process, you have your glenoid fossa or your glenoid cavity. Now this is the shallow depression where the humerus will go into. So today we went over the scapula together. So always remember to ask your TA or your professor to review the bones during your breaks. It's very helpful to have that one-on-one connection with your professor or your TA and to be able to go over each bone individually and go over all the terms and be able to clarify any questions that you have. Always ask your TA or your professor if they have any mnemonics to help you remember certain parts of the human body. More specifically, we have great mnemonics for the wrist bones and the ankle bones. When I'm walking around testing you and holding the bone, you can always ask if you can hold the bone and I can point what question I'm asking you. I knew it was very helpful for me, especially with the hand, if I could hold the hand myself, because I memorized the hand looking at it a certain way. So always make sure to clarify and ask if you can hold the bone. And always remember to take advantage of the class time you have if your professor lets you out early. You can always stay the full 3 hours. The professor and I are always scheduled to be there for the full 3 hours. So if you get out early, we can have a one-on-one conversation with any bones that you might have confusions with. I hope this video helps, and I hope you have a great year in anatomy. Break a leg!